Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Thursday, May the 9th, and we are seeing some interesting developments in the market this morning. So looking at the Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ, they're all in the red as we sit today at 20 minutes to 8 Eastern. So we're still a couple hours, just under 2 hours away from the open. And they're not down significantly, but they are in the red. And what we have had this morning is some earnings reports out of ARM. And even though they beat on revenue and net income or EBITDA, their future forecasts for 2025 fell a little short of analysts' estimates. So they're down about 8% pre-market. You can see that here. They closed at 106. They're down $8.44 pre-market. So it's looking like they're going to open in the mid-90s. I would expect they'll probably drop to the low 90s in the early morning session. It is considered to be one of the most expensive stocks in the NASDAQ or listed on the NASDAQ right now in terms of its trading multiple, even more so than NVIDIA. So if you do look at its price to earnings, it is 365 times its earnings is what its price is. So that's a pretty hefty multiple on something like this. So if you're not forecasting incredible growth, it's going to be hard to maintain that multiple. It may even come down into the 80s today. I do expect it will bounce back a little bit, and it will probably bounce back when NVIDIA announces results, if those are positive in the coming couple of weeks. Anyway, if we scroll to the top here, what we'll see is that crude is positive and in the green, which is leading some of the oil stocks a little higher pre-market. We've got some mixed things happening within health and retail. If we take a look at Home Depot, we're 5 days out here from earnings. And if we look at the 6-month chart, it's down from its highs pretty significantly, really, down at 340 when it was up at almost 400. So it'll be interesting to see what Home Depot comes out with in its earnings report. We also have Walmart announcing in 7 days. And if we look at 6 months here, it's held relatively steady. If we take a look at the 1 year, we did have to factor in a stock split here, but even that factored into the chart. This is what we're looking at. So it's had some pretty good growth over the last 6 months to a year. The healthcare stocks just kind of bobbing around a little bit, not doing a lot. We get down to transport, and again, they're just kind of hovering in the same areas. I think CNR has been in the 170 to 173 range for the last couple of weeks after earnings. And then we get into oil. And oil, the one anomaly in oil today is Con Ed. Con Ed is up $1.31 pre-market. It's at 97.5. It's a little overpriced in my opinion, and I expect it will come back down. So if I held some Con Ed, I would definitely be taking profits in the $97 range. VLO, I think, is going to pop. I think with crude today, we may see that get up to the 159, 160 range, depending on if crude continues to trend upward today and maybe upward to the 80 cents to $1 range. And we should see a little bit of pop in some of the others as well. Getting down into tech, we do have a couple of things to call out here. First of all, CRM, Salesforce, is off $5.50 pre-market. That's going to take it down into the 273 range. I would definitely look at picking some of this up. Salesforce has earnings coming out towards the end of the month on May 29th. I think the earnings are going to be positive. I think that's going to push this back up into the low $300 range. It dropped initially into the low 270s when it announced an acquisition that it's now said it's not going to pursue. And it hasn't recovered since that. So waiting on more around that. I like Palo Alto. It's been down into the 270s as well recently. If you look at even the 1 month chart, it was down in the low 270s on April 11th. And now less than a month later, we're up into the low 300s. And I think that we've got potential to continue to climb. What we'll see with respect to Palo Alto in particular is some announcements today coming out of Akamai. So if we scroll down here, Akamai reports today. You can see that it's going to report on the 9th today after market close. And it'll be interesting to see what they come out with because they're also a cybersecurity company. They're definitely off their highs. I think what we're going to be watching for here, if we want to see a pop, is any announcement, any context around their AI integration. And if they can really harp on the AI side, it might generate some positive buzz and hype around that story. You can see Meta has been making its way back, so 472 there. I'm thinking it's going to get back into the 490s within probably the month of May. By the end of the month, I'm staying away from Tesla. There's a lot of there's a lot of news, not often positive, coming out of Tesla right now, and just car makers, EV makers in general. Amazon is near its record high in the last little while, maybe the last year or two. Announced the other day that it's going to be setting up and investing, I think, $9 billion into Singapore for a new data center. So it'll be interesting to see what they think they can gain in market share with a new data center over in Singapore. And then as we scroll down, BABA's got announcements coming up in 5 days, and it's been on an upward trend. If we look at that, it was as low as the 68 range. It's now 78. So that's had a nice uptick in the last 30 days. I think Google is just kind of found an envelope trading range right now. I like the fact that it's dropped into the 170s pre-market. I think it could pop back down into the high 160s. I'd wait to buy it in the high 160s unless it was a long-term buy and hold. But for a fairly active trade, I would wait on that one. Adobe's making its way back. It's got earnings coming up as well. Those are going to be in the early part of June or mid part of June on the 13th. And then we get down into financials. So with financials, I really like SoFi Technologies in the low 7s or even high 6s. I think you're going to do well with this. I know it's dropped since earnings came out, but it's got a great story and it is making good progress on the financial side. We get down further, and I do like JPM. It's made a bit of a run recently. I think it's going to go into the low 200s to the 220 range. Morgan Stanley's coming back. Goldman has been a bit of a sleeper that's done very well, climbing from the 390s up to almost 450. I think it's a little bit overbought right now and will claw back as we move forward. We heard from the Bank of England this morning that they're holding interest rates and not raising them. So lots of news to come out still today. Focus on where there is volatility in a stock and watch the trends of that stock throughout the day. There are a ton of opportunities to make a small percentage gain on a daily basis, and that's the methodology we try to follow here. If you like the videos, please leave